Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so I'll get it started since this is being recorded. Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all Pennsylvania students, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. PACAC is a nonprofit association comprised of more than 1,200 school counselors, college admission counselors, independent education consultants, and other professionals responsible for guiding students through the important transition from high school to post-secondary options. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping things before we get started. The Q&A button is where you can ask your questions of the presenter at any time. Cameras and microphones are off, so no one can see or hear you. This is just one of many sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at pacac.org. That's PACAC.org. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week on the same website. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the presenter, Carly Steck from Taylor University.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Carly, and I am from Taylor. I'm so excited to be presenting today to you guys. And yeah, I recently just graduated from Taylor. I graduated in May with a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science, Philosophy, and Economics. So I love Taylor. Taylor was a really great place for me to grow, not only in my academics, but also in my faith and in my ability to make really meaningful connections with people. So I'll talk a little bit about first what Taylor is and sort of the ethos behind Taylor, and then I'll talk about who Taylor is and give you guys some numbers and where we're at and stuff. So Taylor is located in Upland, Indiana, which is about an hour south of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we were founded in 1846, which means that we are one of the oldest non-denominational evangelical colleges in the US. So here's a few distinctions that make Taylor Taylor. We have a lot of Christian universities in the United States that take the ethos of a evangelistic or a mission based organization or school institution. And their whole idea is to invite students who maybe don't have a relationship with Christ or are not part of a religion, and that they would find a pathway with faith during their time at the university. Then there are some other universities that maybe have Christian roots in their foundings, but they don't adopt that as part of their present ethos. Taylor's a little bit different in that we define ourselves more as a discipleship community, which means that a majority of our students and faculty are self-professing Christ believers. And so the whole point of Taylor is to kind of be a whole group of believers that are working to try to figure out life and figure out how to be a Christian in the modern day. And so our mission at Taylor is to develop servant leaders who are marked with a passion to minister Christ's redemptive love and truth to the world in need. And one of the ways that we try to achieve that mission is through our degree programs. So we have 100 degree programs in 60 different areas of study. And we focus on 7 key elements in our programs. Liberal arts means that we want our students to graduate as well-rounded individuals instead of just masters in their one area of study that they've chosen. And so these are 7 things that we focus on a lot in our teaching. Civic mindedness, communication fluency are some really big ones. And then the 7th one, which is unique to Taylor, and it's in itself is spiritual maturity. And one of the ways that we try to achieve that is through our spiritual foundational core classes that we have every single student at Taylor take. So that looks like 2 biblical literature classes, Old Testament and New Testament. Also a historic Christian belief class that sort of focuses on the history of the church and theology. And then lastly is the contemporary Christianity, which is learning how to be a Christian in the modern day with modern issues such as race and diversity and um, a lot of different options or a lot of different conflicts that are going on in our world right now. So that's one of the ways that we encourage our students to grow spiritually. But obviously, just being at Taylor, it's pretty hard to not grow spiritually. Okay, so that's a little bit about what Taylor is. Now let's talk about who Taylor is. So Taylor is, like I said, located in Upland, Indiana. We sit on 952 acres of land. We have anywhere between 1,900 and 2,000 students on our Upland campus, and our student to faculty ratio is 13:1, and that's really important because it means that our average class size is around 20 students. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. Only about 30% of our students are from Indiana. And so that means that we have a majority of our students coming from somewhere else. And yes, we do have a sizable amount of students coming from Pennsylvania, so it is achievable to all of y'all from Pennsylvania. But we also have 43 states represented, as well as 31 different countries. We have lots of students who use Taylor as their international experience, which makes it really cool as a person who grew up in the Midwest or grew up in the United States and then coming to a small little town and meeting people from the Philippines and Israel and France and Germany and all these different places. It just makes for a really beautiful, diverse community. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the student to faculty ratio. Our average class size is it's around 20 students or so, but we do have some classes that are a little bit larger. And if you are placed in one of those larger classes, let's say 75 to 80 students, you will always have some sort of small group component. And the reasoning behind that is because our professors really want to invest in their students. They want to get to know their students on a personal level. And so they don't want just like a big class where they don't know anyone's faces. And they want students to be able to come to their office and ask for help if that's what they need, or be able to be a key resource for research projects and publications, internship opportunities, and networking. So I have a quick story about this personally. So I interned for the U.S. Embassy in Dublin when I was a Taylor student. And one of the reasons why I got that internship was because of my academic advisor, who is a part of the political science department, and he knew somebody that worked for the Foreign Service and said, "Oh, you should apply for this internship. I think it'd be really good for you." So our professors really care about their students. They really want their students to succeed, and they're going to use whatever avenues possible to impact their students in a positive way. Okay, so as much as we do love Upland and we think it's an important part of the Taylor education, we are huge on study abroad. We were ranked in the top 10. We're actually number 2 in the country for colleges with the number of students who went on an abroad experience short term. So we have a lot of different opportunities. You could do a whole semester abroad if you want to. You could do a month-long academic trip or a month-long service trip, or you could do one of our spring break missions. That's just for a week. So here's some of the programs that we have. We have a few programs that are Taylor specific, which means that you would be going with a cohort of students who are specifically from Taylor University. So think, the Ireland program, the Ecuador program, those would be programs where you would go with just Taylor students. Taylor's also part of the CCCU, and they have a program called Best Semester, where students from multiple different Christian universities in the United States are able to go on a trip. And so with those trips, for example, the Lithuania semester abroad, you would be going with students from different Christian universities in a cohort with students from different parts of the US, and then meeting each other there and living together at the university there. So programs that are included in that best semester program are Australia program, I think the Chile program, Lithuania, Italy, Spain, Oxford, Korea is another one, and I think Japan as well. So, and then we also have our month-long January term trips that are also an option. So Greece and Italy, that's a Bible trip, which is a really, really common option for a lot of our students to take one of their Bible credits. The China trip is a really good option for our business students who are interested in international business. You get to visit Hong Kong, which is really great. And then we have some of our month-long service trips as well. So Peru and Uganda are two of the most well-known trips, but we also have service trips to Belize, the Philippines, Indonesia, Nepal, Kazakhstan. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Greece, the Czech Republic, and a few other ones as well. So that's also a very common option. A lot of students choose to do the January term trips because sometimes they can't commit to a whole semester. And so doing just a month-long trip is a really good way to get an experience abroad, but it's not quite justification, which is great. All right, so studying abroad, huge part of Taylor, but like I said, we believe that our upland location and the place where Taylor is located is very, very integral to our education at Taylor. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Taylor is our residence experience. We have one of the best residence experiences because we really think that your residence hall is so much more than just the place that you go to sleep at night or keep all your stuff in. Your residence hall is where your sense of community starts. You know, the first people you meet when you go to a university is roommate and the people that live on your floor and then the people that live in your building. And so we have a lot of really crazy traditions that each residence hall at Taylor has, and that's partly because of where we're located and the kind of students that we have at Taylor. So we have 10 campus housing options. We have 8 residence halls, 4 of which are single gender, so either all male or all female. The other 4 are co-ed by floor. And all of our residence halls are integrated freshman through senior, which means that your roommate definitely would be a freshman when you come in as a freshman, but you might be living next to sophomores or living across the hall from juniors. And one of the reasons why we do that is we think that each class at Taylor has something to offer. And so we don't think that, you know, separating the freshmen from all of the other upperclassmen is necessarily a good way to go. So like I said, our residence life at Taylor is huge. And because we don't have a ton to do outside of campus, because Upland is a small town, our students have gotten really creative in planning unique events and community engagements and really, really fun traditions. So one that I always like to talk about is our residence hall events. So we have a really fun one every year that one of the men's residence halls does, and it's called Melon and Gourd. So think like a watermelon and then like a squash. And basically it's a week-long game of capture the flag. And whoever is stuck with the watermelon or the gourd at the end of the week has to take a bite out of it. And it's really funny to watch them do that because it's been, by then the watermelon's usually been dropped a few times. Sometimes it's been duct taped back together. It's been handled by so many different people. And it's been thrown in the mud probably. So it's a really, really fun tradition that was just started by a group of guys like 20 years ago who were like, hey, this sounds interesting. And it's stuck ever since. And now it's one of Taylor's most famous traditions. We also have some all-campus events as well. Air Band, which is a lip syncing and dancing contest between the residence halls. It's very fun, very well attended. My Gen, which is a singing showcase as well as Nostalgia Night. Mosaic Night, which is a beautiful display of all the different cultures that we have on campus. And Tailathon, which is a campus-wide bike race where the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors each have a team. And it's like a relay around campus. So we've got a lot of really fun traditions on campus, a lot of really good opportunities, but if I haven't mentioned something that you are specifically interested in, chances are we probably have an organization that has that interest. We have over 40 different organizations at Taylor. So there's bound to be something where you can find people with similar passions and interests to you. All right, lastly here, our athletics. So Taylor is part of the NAIA division, which is comparable to Division III in size, but more like Division II or Division I as far as ability goes. One of the cool things about NAIA is that even though it's small, we can actually give scholarships to our athletes. So they can get scholarships for their athletic ability as well as their academic ability. And last year, we were ranked #1 in our division for student athletes having a 3.0 GPA or higher. And so we pride ourselves on that because we're very excited that our student athletes are not only just athletes, but very dedicated to their academics as well. We also have some athletic club sports, including the equestrian team, Palms dance team, and a rugby team. And then one of our most highly attended student clubs is our intramural sports club. We've got a ton of different sports from basketball to flag football, tennis to spike ball. It just kind of depends, but it's a really, really good program. And over half of our student body plays in it, which is great. So needless to say, there is a lot to do on campus, but our time in Upland is not cut short by any of our successes that we achieve after graduation. So for the last 24 years, Taylor has been ranked in the US News and World Report as the best Midwest college. It's been in the top 3 for the last 24 years. And in the last 8 years, we've actually been #1 as well. Our success rate is 98%, which means that 98% of our graduates have some sort of job or are enrolled in a graduate degree at least 3 months after graduation. And that success rate is 20% higher than the national average, which is huge. And that's a really big number that we like to keep really high. These are some of the places that our graduates are working at. Some key ones to point out here: Compassion International, Boeing, and US Department of State. And our grads are studying at places like Notre Dame, Purdue, Michigan State University, Boston University, Loyola of Chicago, and Indiana University School of Medicine. So our graduates they're doing things in the world, they are excelling, and they are also discipling. And they've learned a lot of those traits during their time at Taylor. And one of the reasons why that is because we really focus on this integration of faith and learning at Taylor. So a lot of Christian universities, they will take faith over here, and then they will take learning over here. And your faith is like achieved through your Bible classes and like going to chapel. And then your learning is like everything else. But at Taylor, we challenge that idea and we say, okay, let's take our faith, which is actually the core foundation of our our life and take our learnings and our academics and actually put that on top of it and see how it coincides. See how reading scripture can reveal more about mathematics and how learning theology can reveal more about English studies. It just kind of depends. And so we use that integration of faith and learning into helping students think about their future career, not just their first job after college. We want to help our students find their calling while they're at Taylor. Another way that we focus on discipleship at Taylor is through our chapel program. And so we have chapel 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. It's not mandatory for our students, but every single chapel service, the chapel's completely full. It's because our students, they really care about their faith. They want to take ownership of their faith while they're at Taylor. So next up is a short little video, and then we'll continue on with some next steps.
The decision you're making is about so much more than where you'll spend the next 4 years. It's about how you'll live the next 40. So let me break down the Taylor University experience. We integrate faith and learning to become well-rounded, lifelong learners, while delivering a deeper knowledge of our specific areas of study. Whether you're producing award-winning films, building satellites for NASA, or preparing for a national ethics debate, Taylor will push you to excel in your field. But excellence isn't always about having the right answers. Sometimes it's about asking the right questions. Taylor is interdenominational. That means we can't always fall back on specific church doctrine to settle issues. We rely on scripture and the dynamic nature of iron sharpening iron to better know the God who's not afraid of our question. Much of this happens in the small town of Upland, Indiana, the place where Taylor does life together. But don't let this small town fool you. The schedule is packed with things to do, and through these activities, faculty, staff, and students become more than individuals occupying the same address. They become a community. But this community isn't limited to the campus. We travel. Boy, do we travel. We are ranked as one of the top 10 schools in the country for overseas experiences. But it isn't just about the going. It's about the sharing of those experiences and being challenged by those who come to Upland as their international experience. Taylor is one of a few Christian colleges that expects all students to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, this doesn't mean Taylor is a Christian Disneyland, full of cardboard cutout perfection. Taylor is full of real people with real problems, and living together can get kind of messy. But in that mess, we take Jesus' call from John 13 seriously. We practice picking up our towel and dealing with the mess in each other's lives. We're not here just to follow the rules for 4 years. Instead, we hope to learn to live authentic lives, calling each other to lives of meaning. Every day, our focus remains on the 40, not just the 4. We'd love to show you more about Taylor. Come visit, sit in on a class, go to chapel, spend a night in a residence hall. Experience the difference for yourself.
All right, so lastly here, just some financial aid stuff. If you go on our website, you will see that the average cost for room and board plus tuition at Taylor for the 2019-2020 school year was around $44,000 to $46,000. So that's a big number. I will say that because 99% of our students received financial aid, the average amount that a student will be paying per year is anywhere between $16,000 and $19,000. So that's after scholarships, after financial aid, after grants, all that stuff. It's anywhere between 16 and 19. 58% of the class of 2019 had the averaging student debt of $26,000. I can attest to that because I just graduated and that's how much debt I have. And the national average is for most students, for a majority of students in this country, the average debt is anywhere between 29 to actually 34. So Taylor's totally worth your money. And also by the time you graduate, you're not going to be saddled with this incredible amount of debt, which is really great. All right, so here are some next steps. If you heard something during this presentation that you were excited about or sparked your interest in some way, go on our website, taylor.edu, and look up and see if Taylor offers something that you might want to study. And maybe you're not sure what you want to study, and that's totally fine too. If you're not, we offer a pre-major program where students can take their core classes while exploring other options and taking a career counseling course, which is super helpful in figuring out what your interests are, what your hobbies are, and being able to build some sort of program that will be interesting to you. We also have other unique opportunities like the honors program, ROTC, and our pre-med curriculum. Another good next step would be to visit Taylor. So we are offering in-person campus visits this fall and next spring. And those calendars are already up on our website, taylor.edu/visit. We would love to have you come on campus, go to chapel, meet with a faculty member, meet with your admissions counselor, get a campus tour, all that stuff. But I also understand that Pennsylvania is far away from Indiana, and it is definitely during the season of coronavirus. And so if that's not an option for you, we do offer virtual visits, either live or on demand for you. So where you get to meet with professors over Zoom, you get to take a virtual campus tour, all that stuff. So that's also another option. Quick thing about our application cycle. So most of this stuff is pretty straightforward. One thing that I do want to say is that our test scores right now. So this policy is subject to change. So I would definitely reach out to your admissions counselor before you come running to them with this distress of, I need a test score. So we are operating under a policy right now of test scores preferred but not required, which means that you can apply to Taylor without a test score and we will make a decision on whether or not you are admitted or not without your test score. But for consideration for some of our scholarships, as well as our honors program, or if you're thinking about doing engineering, we are going to need some test scores for placement reasons, for scholarship and merit-based scholarship stuff, as well as for the honors program. So that would be something that you could talk to your admissions counselor about, because like I said, that policy is changing every single day. So make sure that you address that with them. And lastly, you probably are like, well, who's my admissions counselor? Well, here they are. You can go to our website, again, taylor.edu, and click under the admissions tab, and you will find all of your admissions counselors right here. And you can just click on their name and it will have their contact information. They would love to get an email from you. If you have any interest in Taylor, they would love to hear from you and answer any questions that you might have. Again, visit Taylor, talk to a faculty member if you do end up visiting Taylor. And then for my seniors out there, if you're planning on applying to Taylor, we would ask that you apply and be accepted by Christmas. So try to send in that application by Thanksgiving so that you can be accepted before Christmas in order to be eligible for most of our financial aid opportunities. All right, that's it from me. I'm not sure if there's anyone in the webinar, but if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to contact me, which is carly_Sveck@taylor.edu, or you can visit our website or email the admissions@taylor.edu as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor. We appreciate that. And oops, that's not the right screen to be sharing. There we go. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Carly, for sharing information about Taylor University. I'm having a banner wrap up to this session. Just a reminder that this is one of many sessions that PACAC is hosting through the courtesy of StriveScan. So if you can check out the schedule at www.pacac.org/virtual. Thank you for joining us and have a great night.